We completely bootstrapped it. We were profitable on the very first day. And now, after 9 years of building, real business, you start to realize that it's much more difficult to bootstrap it. And it's virtually impossible. The first step you need to take is, well, who's going to fund this idea? And you have to wear that hat. I didn't even know that was a thing until 2 years ago.
In this episode, I'm talking to Aaron Spivak, co-founder of Hush Blankets, known for their cooling pillowcases, cooling sheets, and weighted blankets. I actually own a weighted blanket myself. We're gonna talk about Aaron's experience on Dragon's Den, number one. Number two, we're gonna talk about the recent sale of Hush Blankets over to Sleep Country Canada, basically an iconic sleep brand with a market cap of over $1 billion. And number three, this is my favorite part. We're going to talk about the early days of Hush Blankets when Aaron was DJing on the side and carpooling just to save money. We'll also try to figure out things like how much money they raised, what actually happened after Dragon's Den, and how much money they spend in marketing per year in 2023 versus when they first started. And if you can't answer a question, like usual, both have to take a shot of hot sauce. You see the light back there. Wish me luck, Martians. Hope you enjoyed this one. Hello, Martians. Welcome back to another episode of Marketing on Mars. Today, super excited. We got the co-founder of Hush Blankets, Canada's fastest growing sleep brand, Aaron Spivak here. He was on Forbes 30 Under 30. Aaron, thank you so much, man, for coming on the show.
Dude, thank you for having me.
Oh man, we had a little bit of a challenge getting you your hot sauce. But we're finally here. Just to set the stage a little bit, tell us a little bit. I'll give you an intro as well afterwards, but maybe tell the crowd, your journey, where you're from, and kind of what you're focused on today.
Yeah, so my name is Aaron Spivak. I'm born and raised in Toronto. Even though if you follow me on social, you might see me a lot in the US, but I'm born and raised in Toronto. I've played, obviously, because I'm Canadian, I played hockey for 20 years of my life, which was super fun. Never made it to the big leagues, but I was always intrigued and inspired by the idea of entrepreneurship. Yeah, maybe not yet. I don't know, maybe I'll find my way there. But, I love the idea of entrepreneurship. I was that lemonade stand, kid, car washes, door knocking, window cleaning. I always just loved the idea of being able to make as much money and build as many things as I'm willing to work for. When I was 18, I started a company called Revitalize, which is a cold pressed juice shop in 2013 with my brothers and my mom. And then more recently, what people know me for is Hush. And Hush started off as the world's most popular weighted blanket brand, selling all over the world. We've had top 10 Canadian Kickstarter of all time. We developed our own proprietary cooling fabric called the Iced Fabric. Since then, we've been on Dragon's Den. We've launched multiple products outside of weighted blankets, our ice sheets and pillows and mattresses and bed frames. We have over 170 different SKUs now. So it's quite the jam. We've got 50 people here in the office, and it's been about a 5.5-year journey. I was grateful to be on Forbes. And last year, we were super fortunate. We were able to sell to a company called Sleep Country, which is Canada's mattress firm if you're American, but if you're Canadian like myself, it's our home brand, and we all know the jingle. So it was very, very, very special to do that. And right now we're still building out Hush. We're fortunate to be agnostic and still be able to go and reach for these big goals. So that's kind of what we're up to right now.
Oh man, you just took my entire intro. I had a whole intro prepared for you. You said everything.
I always try to race through that because I'm no one actually cares. But yeah.
So you sold to Sleep Country, I think, was it just last year?
Yeah, so the end of 2021. Yeah, November of 2021.
All right. So Sleep Country Canada, if people don't know, they're probably the largest, the most iconic sleep brand in Canada. They're at about $1 billion in market cap. Big company. Yeah. So for you to make a deal with them, can you disclose details of the deal?
Yeah, I mean, they're a publicly traded company, so a lot of the information is online. They bought initially they bought 52% of the business at a $48 million valuation, with the remaining 48% being broken up into 3/3. So they actually bought 100% of the business, but every year they obtain an additional 16%. And so when I mentioned that we're on this journey, like we have these big goals, and it's because we still own a piece of it, although we sell it every year. It was a deal that we were super excited about because, we sold at the end of our 4th year. So a lot of people kind of, if you ever hear me on a stage, it's always like, oh, they did 48 million in 48 months. Not total, like per year. And people get me with that. They're like, "Oh, we did 100 million in 10 years." And I'm like, "That's unbelievable." And they're like, adding up 10 years worth of sales. But so like it definitely like we were like just scaling like crazy, but we felt like we had a lot of unfinished business. Like it was only 48 months, and the first like 12 months you don't know anything. So we love the idea of the deal that we can stay on and build something out and kind of finish what we feel, at least finish what a lot of unfinished work that we had in place. So that's kind of our deal. And it's been incredible, really. The first 16 months, obviously ups and downs, but it's been crazy. No complaints on our end.
Yeah. I mean, and it's good for Sleep Country too, because now you're incentivized to continue to grow it. And there's like an actual handoff to the next eventual leader. So that's great. All right. Before we dive into Hush Blankets, I have so many questions on how you grew the company, your journey on Dragon's Den and that whole experience. And then just now, like, what are you focused on now and into the future? Before we dive into all that, we got a little tradition on the show. We start off the show with the shot of hot sauce, and you're opening up yours for the first time. And then the theme is every single time I ask you a question that you cannot share or you cannot talk about, lights flash. You got lights flashing behind us here. And that means it's time for another shot of hot sauce. We'll take another shot. So just as long as you answer everything I ask you.
I DoorDash this. I don't even know what's in here. So I'm hoping it's not like ghost pepper sauce. But
can you show us? What is that? What is that? Can you show us the label?
Tabasco. It doesn't. Let me try it actually a little bit. Make sure I'm not dying.
It's probably gonna be sour. Here, I'll do it with you. Let's just start.
Yeah. Let's do a shot to start this off.
Oh shit!
How much do you do?
Way too much habanero. I'm doing habanero that I got from Cancun.
Okay, here we go. Ready? Cheers.
Right. Cheers.
Oh
my god!
I should have brought water.
Oh my god!
I'm dying. I'll be back. I need water. I need water. Oh god, I'm back.
All right. While we're here, while Aaron's gone, I'm just gonna say a few things about Aaron.
Oh my god!
Oh, you're back. That was fast.
Yeah, I went and grabbed it up. Oh my god! I better answer a lot of questions,
or everything,
My goodness. All right.
So let's dive into it. We already talked about the Dragon's Den deal. Let's talk a little bit about the company when you guys first started. Obviously, it was a startup, and you have different routes. You started a couple of businesses before with your family. Sounds like you have a very entrepreneurial family, and so you learned a lot. But was the company fully bootstrapped? Did you guys have some money in the beginning that family members or friends put together? Like, what was the early journey for Hush for you guys?
Yeah, I mean, we completely bootstrapped it. We were profitable on the very first day. My partner and I, I grew up, didn't really come from a wealthy family. Kind of had to scrap, things together. I mean, even when I was playing hockey, like training every summer is $8,000. Where am I getting $8,000 to pay for training? So I'd figure it out. You teach kids, you get as scrappy as possible, you carpool. negotiate better deals, whatever you need to do to make the $8,000. And, when it came to starting a business, and now like after 9 years of building, I guess, real business, you start to realize that it's much more difficult to bootstrap it. And it's like virtually impossible. And almost the first step you need to take is, well, who's going to fund this idea? And you have to wear that hat. And to me, like, I didn't even know that was a thing until like 2 years ago. Honestly, I had no idea that like people, like, that's why you raise. I always thought that people raise to take money off the table. I never thought like to raise to start a business. So, in my opinion, there was no other chance. The only way to start this business was to be profitable, was to have it make more than it spends on the very first day, and to scale it. And I live and die on deciding what my profit's going to be. And the more profit I want to make, the less I'll scale, and vice versa. And that's how I always viewed business. I viewed business as like, hey, if I can make $50 profit per order, what does my life look like if I make $5 profit per order? Like, what's the scale I can achieve? And I just live in that zone. Even till today, we still live in that zone. We've been very fortunate. I'm knocking on wood. We've never lost money. And for a lot of people, it's like, how's that even possible? Like, we're going to lose money for X amount of time. I understand it. Like, I totally get it. But for us, there was just no alternative. It was bootstrap or don't start a business.
Yeah, I mean, I read a lot into different types of businesses, and for the D2C, product-based businesses, they're the hardest. The margins are so tight, and for you to become profitable, I read somewhere that it takes between 5 to 7 years to even become profitable for most D2C brands. And for you guys to be profitable right off the bat, that's incredible. Tell us how you did it. Like, what made Hush so different from all the other D2C brands that come in the market and are struggling? Like, how do you break through the noise? How did you do it?
Typically, I give the merry-go-round on this answer, but my mouth is on fire right now. So listen, the absolute truth is, and this is like, I've probably consult with, 5 to 10 ongoing people, some because I love them and I'm passionate about it, some because I get paid for it. And the truth, the real truth is, it's, people are not willing, and you hear this all the time, and it's only cliche if you think it is. They're just not willing to put in the work. Like we were doing, 12 in our second. Yeah, in our second year, we were pacing close to $10 million. Okay, and we had 3 staff. We were profitable at a 20% margin. We were taking zero salary, zero, because we wanted to put it all back into the business and scale it because we had bigger goals. Yeah. People then go, well, how did you fund your life? Did someone pay for it? It's like, no, I scaled down my life as much as possible. I needed like $2,200 or something like that a month to live. And I would DJ on the weekends. I literally DJ'd a party, and the guy's like, yo, I just saw you on Dragon's Den. Like, what are you doing DJing? Like, what? Didn't you guys like just get a deal? Aren't you like making all this money? And it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, I'll do whatever it takes, like anything it takes to not strangle my business and not leech it. And by the way, I was 23, 24. Depends where you are in your life. And some people don't lean into the fact that they're in their early 20s and they don't have kids and a mortgage and a house. Like, those are serious things. You can't be DJing on the weekend to pay for your kids' food. So it's also like understanding where you're at in your life. And I knew, like, we had competitors come. We had 70,000 active competitors at one point selling weighted blankets. But I knew the margin, and I knew how low I can go because I didn't need it to pay my rent. I didn't need 6, 7K out of my business. Right? Like, I knew that I can drive the growth through being as lean as possible on my end. And typically people are just not willing. They were not even willing to bet on themselves. So many times I speak to founders and it's like, okay, we need to raise this. And I'm looking at the table and I'm like, why do you need 60K a year right now? It's like, oh, well, I got this and this and this. And it's like, you're not even willing to bet on yourself for 1 year. Like you're not willing to eat shit for 1 year and you want someone to invest all this money. So for me, it's typically, it makes sense to me, the bootstrap model. And there's no better feeling than seeing a founder get scrappy as shit and put things together and call in favors and make it happen and then just hit growth goals. And then for me, that's what I love to see. And oftentimes people are just not willing to really do what it takes.
Okay. So you're eating shit for 2 years. You should add that on your resume, though. That's insane. The fact that you're at $10 million, $2 million profitability, and you're still DJing on the weekend, mad respect. I mean, like you said, you're 23 years old at the time, no family, no mortgage, no debt, so you can afford to do that. Okay, so that's on the profitability end. Great, but what about just making the sales? How did you guys do that so quickly and ramping up so quickly? Like, what do you think was this? What was the secret sauce? I saw you made a post recently that like your life motto is just like do things that challenge yourself, that challenge you, and that's kind of like your life motto. But what do you think was the secret sauce? Like, if you were to go back and just like watch Aaron building Hush, like what allows you to grow, scale to 10 million in revenue?
Me personally, I'm turned off by people who inventors, people who are the first to do things. You see it a lot in the restaurant space. It's always a third or fourth or fifth restaurant in that spot that actually makes any money. I love innovation through iteration. It's like, I get so excited about it. You see so many brands that have done it over and over and over again. Like, you've seen the Dude Wipes guys do it. Like, so many people have just taken something that is already proven, that people already buy, that there's existing demand for, and they just made it a little bit better. They innovated it through iterating the existing product that people already love. And then people then will gravitate toward that. So we did exactly that. I went on Google and we saw there was, at the time, 300,000 searches for weighted blankets in America a month. There's 300,000. There was maybe a handful of sellers. We bought every single one of them on the internet. They were too big, too small, impossible to wash. The weight would shift around. The distribution was off. All the weight would be on your feet. You'd move throughout the night. All the beads would sound like a rain stick turned over. It was the worst experience of your life. But it didn't change the fact that 300,000 people wanted it. And these guys were selling. So we knew if we innovated on this product, took care of all those simple issues, and then competed, we would be able to service the industry way better. And that's exactly what we did. And when we launched, we sold out literally on day 3 because we called out those pain points. We provided the solutions. And then when we went through our first summer and we made no sales, we were like tripping. Like, oh my God. Like, we went from like 80 to 100K months in literally our first month, which is like unheard of, to $4,000 months in July and August. It got to the point where my co-founder called me. He's like, listen, Aaron, amazing business. I love it, but I'm not interested in seasonal businesses. Let's sell the rest of the inventory and call it a day. And then I was like, wait a second, let's just we have 2,500 customers at this point. I'm like, let's just send out an email. Let's call them all. Let's just ask them yo, you bought 3 months ago. You're not buying anymore. What happened? And, 1,000 hours later, calling, emailing, back and forth, multiple months, we realized that every single person said the exact same thing. They're like, yo, amazing product, amazing blanket. We love the brand. We love you guys. The service is incredible. We're like, amazing, amazing. Why are you not buying? They're like, well, it's too hot. It's 30 degrees outside. I'm sweating in areas I've never sweat before. Your blanket's sitting in a closet right now. I'll take it back out in the winter. And it was like a light bulb moment. And we're like, oh my God, everyone wants the weighted blanket, but nobody wants to sweat. So that's when we went out and we developed our own proprietary fabric called the iced fabric that keeps you cool all throughout the night, actually, without weird sprays and toxic chemicals, just through a way that we weave specific fabrics. And because we had to weave our own fabric and we needed tens of thousands of yards of it, we took it to Kickstarter and launched the Hush Iced Blanket, which became a top 10 Canadian campaign of all time. Without guessing, there was no trick on Kickstarter. We didn't do some weird marketing hack. We just met the demand with what it wanted.
Do you guys run a lot of ads early days? Because like those during that period of time, ads, Facebook ads, Instagram ads, they were still effective at that time. You can still get good ROAS at that time. Nowadays, a little bit harder. Was that a huge marketing strategy for you guys?
Like yes and no. I think like we definitely scaled through paid social, but like we're still scaling on Facebook. I think what happens typically for many brands is you don't know your numbers. And when you don't know your numbers, I mean, you think you know your numbers, you do the mental math, like you have your spreadsheets, but you need to really know your effective MER. I don't want to get too nerdy here, but like you need to really know what goes out and what comes in the vending machine. Like if you put $1 in and you get $3 back, is that enough? Right. And typically what happens is people toggle, they toggle the money that goes in the vending machine instead of the vending machine itself. And for us, it was always about the vending machine. It's like, okay, we know that we want to go like this. And I've never seen an ad account or a brand for that matter go like this and their ad spend stay flat. It always kind of goes with it. And if you're lucky, it'll go up a little bit, it'll come down a bit, but it has to go with it. So knowing that the only way to grow is to spend more, then everyone has the same challenge. Well, if I spend more, my efficiency goes out the window. Then what do we need to do? We need to tweak the vending machine. So we were always head over heels with our storytelling. We always wanted to wrap people into who we are, what we stand for. We documented as much as possible. We showed people the good, bad, and the ugly. We gave people an inside look at what we're doing at Hush and why they should join us on our mission. Then we layered in creative that was tested to a T, like a creative department that is constantly testing, constantly tweaking. We're active on our comments and we're constantly finding ways to retell our story. Sometimes the same story told 10 different ways to resonate with our customers to then get the efficiency we want. And for us, we were lucky. We were able to like have our Kickstarter that, had that whole audience, and we layered in Dragon's Den. So we had a lot of things supporting our marketing pool, but for us, it was all driven through paid media, but it was through the creative that we were able to continue to spend more without losing efficiency.
All right. So talking about numbers, we mentioned you're at already $10 million in revenue by year 2. You're now in year 9, right? Or 7 or 9.
Year 5.5 of Hush, 9 of business.
9 of business, 5.5. Okay, year 5.5. Where are we at right now in terms of revenue for Hush?
I gotta take a shot of shit right now. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
This was like a year ago, I'd be able to say.
But now you can't. Oh, right, because of the acquisition.
Gotta wait for the quarterly update.
Because of Uncle Sam.
Yeah, right. Exactly. All right. Cheers. Oh, God. Oh, my God.
Oh,
shit's so hot. I don't even know what it is, man. All right.
Okay, so oh man, it's just stuck right here. You can't talk about revenues this year. Can you talk about revenues from last year?
20.
You can't talk about revenues.
No, I can only talk 21. Can't talk 22.
And at 21, what was the revenue at 21?
21 was. We did 20 and 20 times. I think we were at 44.
44 mil?
44, 48, I think, in that range.
And it'll be like higher or now or lower than 21?
Last year was lower. This year we're going to smash that.
All right. So probably around 50 mil. Blink once.
I have no idea what you're talking about. I got no idea what you're
I
talking
don't know.
about.
I don't know what revenue.
I don't
What
know.
are revenues? What are revenues again?
Could be 5. I don't know.
Okay, so storytelling. I agree, super important, especially nowadays. In order to stand out from the D2C world and just in products in general, just it's so hard to stand out just from the value prop alone and what you're offering, because there's already so many products out there. But it's a storytelling. Talk to us about storytelling in the early days of Hush, right? Because the platforms were different. LinkedIn, for example, was not as hot now as was not as hot back then as now.
Mm.
What platforms did you use to tell your story back then, and what about now? Has that changed a little bit?
There's a famous quote from, I think it's Seth Godin. He's like, people do not buy goods and services; they buy relations, stories, magic.
Yeah,
and we live by that. You know, like no one gives any shit about the product always. I mean, you can get it anywhere. It's all about the feeling, and we all, as humans, is like something that like we not force, but we encourage everybody to pay attention to here, at least at Hush. And like what I love about like the reason why I go on social in the first place is because I'm constantly paying attention to humans and how we interact and why we say things. And I'm questioning like, why did they do that? And why did that person, approach this conversation in that way? And I'm always curious because so much of what we do and what we spend our money on and where we live and who we love, and it's based on an emotion and that feeling that we get or that we think we're going to get. And there's one thing that's true, in my opinion, that every human has is we love thinking that we're doing good for somebody else. We love it. It just is what it is. It's something about it. It's the reason why when you're in a good mood, you tip more than when you're not in a good mood. Is when you're in the mood to support another individual, you want to do it. But if you buy from, if I buy a can of Coke, I don't really know who I'm supporting. So I need to either want the Coke or not. And if Pepsi was there, exactly. I don't know who I'm supporting. But in this world where if you go to Whole Foods and you look at the fridge and there's a bajillion colors of pink and like green and yellow, and you're like, but then there's a brand and you're like, wait a second, that guy's got a cool story. And I was with a friend of mine at a Whole Foods like 2 weeks ago in New York, and I went to grab something and he's like, you should try this. This guy like was on a mountain for 6 months. And like, I was like, what? They told me this whole life story. And I'm like, dude, I just want water. And he's like, no, like this guy like spent months on a mountain, like testing dehydration. I was like, that's what I'm talking about. Like the magic behind the bottle. If we can get just a moment with that physical thing that attaches us to that feeling of supporting someone that we resonate with. It's the same reason why people donate. It's just all comes back to that. So the way to separate yourself is, of course, have a product that delivers, because if you have this heroic feeling and I want to support this guy, and then you whatever you send me breaks the momentum. So aside from the product, we need to make people feel attached to whatever they're buying.
So the story has remained consistent, right? Your story that you're telling has remained consistent, but maybe the platform has changed, or the platform.
Yeah, I mean, we try to be everywhere, but like you want to meet the customers where they're at and not force the customers always to meet you. You know, a big word that was thrown around last year in the marketing space or in e-com was community, and community was just everyone's excuse for not being able to convert new customers. So it's like, oh, I don't need to worry about new customers. I don't worry about my current customers. And that was just for me a cop out for inability to acquire new customers. The reality is community has always been a thing. It's never going away. And it's so important. And people don't understand community. They view community as how many followers do we have, or maybe people like our posts and stuff like that. But for me, community is how many people are willing to take a little bit of time out of their day to spend a thought on you consistently, and what can you do to provide for that community. And for us, like, we're a brand, we have a Facebook group, we're very active in our email, we do two-way email, two-way SMS all the time. We reach out, we call, like we're actually working on some new products today, we're testing out new fabrics. we're reaching out to customers who've either supported us multiple times, have been around for a while, and say, hey, we're working on this new fabric. What do you think? Like, is there a color you specifically want? Is there a feel that would intrigue you? And, the best example that I come across, I have this coffee shop down the street from where I live, and I go get a coffee every day before I come to the office. And then like a year ago, I would go and I would get an avocado toast from another place. So I get a coffee and then I get an avocado toast. And I was in my head, I was like, I don't really like this avocado toast guy so much. It kind of gives me dirty looks. And it's also like it's an extra 10 minutes out of my day. So I went to the coffee shop owner. I was like, hey, if you just add avocado toast to your menu, I will buy it. And then you make more money. And I left. 3 days later, I come and I see avocado toast on the menu. I buy it, obviously. It was like the worst avocado toast I've ever had in my entire life. But I felt like I had a responsibility to serve this guy. I started bringing my friends. I'm like, yo, everyone, let's meet up. Let's have a coffee meetup at this coffee place. Let's buy the toast. Everybody buy the toast. And eventually it's actually made it better since last year. But why did I do that? I didn't make any money. I still had to pay for it. Didn't even give it to me for free. Like, why did I do that? And I did it is because I had a say. I had a small say. And people forget to bring their customers into the fold. Simon, if you told me that you loved a specific color of sheet, like you're just like, yo, no one's made this charcoal, space gray, black, or whatever, and I then launch it and like sent you feedback along the way, like, hey, what do you think of this? What do you think of just photos? Thumbs up, thumbs down, like no time. You're then now a part of it. And you're a part of it probably forever. You probably never buy a sheet from anyone ever again. And the question is, how do we do that with everyone?
At scale.
And it's possible. And people are doing it. We just need to pay attention.
All right. We're going to dive into that. But first, I'm going to quickly recap. We talked about a bunch of different channels that you guys are using. Paid. Talked about community a little bit, which we'll dive into, which I would love to dive into. Two-way emailing, SMS. What other channels are you guys using right now for marketing?
In terms of, we do a lot of out-of-home stuff. So you'll see us on billboards. You'll see us on TV and radio. We're on Reddit. Like it's just we're really on every channel that we can, see a lift or an impact. Okay,
cool. And so how much is your guys' marketing budget? And I'm going to have my hot sauce ready just in case.
How much you guys spending per month? I actually don't know the fine number, but I know that we're spending north of 8 figures a year for sure.
So that is like 10 mil, 12 mil, 13 mil kind of.
At least, yeah.
At least. Okay. All right. That's an answer. I don't see any lights flashing.
I actually don't know that. I don't know that.
I think we're good. But that makes sense. You guys are probably roughly around 40 something, 50 mil in revenue. So 10, 12 mil. That would be like about a 25% marketing budget. 25% of
confirm or deny, but you have. You got math. You got math. You know math. I don't know what to tell you.
Quick math. We got quick math there. All right. So we got a few channels. Paid. Let's talk about paid a little bit. You guys are doing some paid stuff, ads. Where are you guys spending most of your paid advertisement budgets?
Well, we're in a unique space, right? We sell commodities, beds, pillows, mattresses, frames, weighted blankets, sheets, right? So, in our space, the bottom of the floor is the highest intent, probably the most competitive. That's where people go. And it's very rare to get convinced to buy a pillow today. It's more likely that you think you need a new pillow. And then you go on Google and you ask Google to deliver you a pillow, and it does. So we compete very heavily on Google for sure, because it's where a lot of the winning is done. But we've always achieved additional scale through Meta, and Meta's been good to us for a long time. We know it really well. We've built our brand there. We've seen tremendous scale with TikTok over the last year. But if you look at it as a platform itself, it's tremendous scale. If you look at it in comparison to what we're doing on other platforms, it's still baby, baby scale, and not turning off or diverting spend anywhere else to go all in on TikTok, but definitely scaling TikTok as its own silo as attribution gets a little bit better. And also the attention that's there is starting to do, going away from Charlie D'Amelio doing a backflip and more into educational and people looking to buy things.
Yeah. What is your percentage, like the breakdown of your marketing spend between TikTok, Meta, and Google right now?
I don't know.
And then you also have like out of home stuff. So maybe
So the out of home stuff is seasonal for sure. So it definitely creeps into a percentage, but then backs back out to relatively zero. I would say we're probably splitting between Facebook and Google, and then I wouldn't say more than 10% of it goes to TikTok, and then between all the other ones, probably split 10%. So I would say probably 80% between the two heavyweights. So
45% on Facebook, 45% on Google.
40 and 40, I would say, yeah.
40. Yeah. So it looks like Facebook and Google are still outperforming TikTok. Can you share some numbers that you're seeing? Like what's like a cost per acquisition, CPA on Facebook, or the cost per click, Facebook, Google versus TikTok?
I don't know the cost per click. I know the CPMs. CPMs on Facebook are probably, they fluctuate between like $4 and $8, which is really good. When iOS hit, I think it was approaching 10. So we've finally come back down. And then TikTok's fantastic, man. It's like $1 to $3 CPMs. It's fantastic.
TikTok's the lowest.
Yeah, sure. TikTok is great. It's just it's different, and I think for a lot of media buyers who don't have a strong flow of creative built, it's one of those platforms that the creative is not only crucial, it's crucial in all of them, but it dies so much faster at such a smaller span. So yeah. And do you find like, and then what about Google? So Facebook's around 4 to 8 CPM, and what about Google? Oh,
right up there?
I don't know, because there's so many different campaigns and so many like the CPMs range depending on what it is. But I would say it's around the same as Google, but that's more on a CPC basis. But then it's depending on the ad campaign. I would say it's like, it could be $1 to $5 depending on what campaign we're targeting.
Yeah.
But in my space, it's very competitor heavy. So you got to be like an assassin with your Google dollars.
Yeah. Now, with a lot of the D2C, not just D2C, but also the B2B founders and CMOs that come on the show, the trend is that everyone's cutting back on their Facebook spend, putting more towards Google and testing on TikTok a little bit, and even pushing some of the budget over to other areas because of the iOS updates and everything. That reduced a lot of Facebook spend for many, many companies. What has your experience been with Facebook?
I think last year that was the story for sure. I mean, Facebook just had nothing. So you're just burning cash by giving it. But I think this year a lot has turned around for Facebook. I think the app itself, forget the ad. I think the app itself is going to see a resurgence. I mean, we just saw Threads launch yesterday, and you know, I went off on Threads because I was just like, how can anyone doubt Zuck? Like this, sure, you can say MySpace created social media, but this guy created and built the way we interact socially on the internet. It's like if Steve Jobs was still alive and he said you would fade Apple, it just doesn't make any sense. So and I've been saying it all the way as his stock went down to 80 and all the way as it's almost 3x since. I just don't understand the long-term fade. I understand the short-term adjustment people need to do to make sure their business doesn't go out of business. But I'm long on Facebook as an app, as a platform, as a place to advertise. We're not going anywhere. I mean, we've scaled considerably on the platform this year, but I think 21 post iOS, post COVID, post no more money, post stock crashing, macro, like there were so many factors to why your ads weren't working. And I think to blame one thing, it was just disproportionately unfair, and also might show a lack of understanding of human psychology and how we like to spend. Like I was spying less. So I'm bullish. I'm bullish on the platform. Yeah, I'm just bullish on the platform. I think if you're going to make money anywhere on the internet and you're not an incredible TikTok creator who can pump out viral videos on a regular basis, which most people are not, your best chance at seeing scale is through Meta and through Google, depending on what you sell, but definitely through Meta.
Yeah. And now it seems like you guys are like content. You guys are like a content machine. I mean, your personal LinkedIn. If you guys listening have not checked out Aaron's LinkedIn, you're posting like every other day. Like you're active on there. Talk to us about the content team that you have put together. Like, what does that team look like?
We're like a team of 6. Which will probably be 8 in-house, which consists of Meta and Google buyers, TikTok buyers, multiple video editors, a creative director, and a head of social, and then we have a head of growth that manages the team. So we'll be at 8 very shortly, and the team is. A lot of them come from an agency background. So there's obviously been a shift of like agency talent wanting to work on one brand instead of getting yelled at from 15 different brands.
Huge shift.
So we've kind of built like an agency in-house, which is really nice because it's cool to see a professional like not bounce around from brand to brand and just like stay on one brand and one niche for a minute and really think their process through. And we've seen huge benefit from like really cutting out agencies as much as possible. And understanding that we can use agencies when we need, and then also to pull in and pull out. And that's our team is not only in the office and in Toronto, but really impressive to me, at least. It's been hard to build, but cool to see once it comes together.
Oh my God. I totally agree with you. I came from agency background, 2017 to 2019. And holy shit, like that agency grew from when I joined, they were like sub 1 million. It grew to about $20 million. And I was the most stressed. Like my stress level was the highest that it's ever been in my whole life. And like, I nearly burnt out. Like every single day waking up, like I was breathing, like I felt like I was only breathing at 40% oxygen or something. I don't know.
Yeah, man. Shortness of breath, tight chest. Yeah. I know what it's like.
Oh man, it was tough. And so like now being able to focus on one thing, like one brand, and then now doing stuff on the side for my own personal brand that elevates the brand that I'm working on, it makes so much more sense. And I think a lot of people, I'm seeing that trend happening as well. All right. Let's go into when we connected last time, you had a couple of things that we talked about that I felt were a little bit spicy. So I kind of want to dive into that a little bit. You mentioned that you feel a lot of brands just don't understand their finances. And I know you talked about that right off the bat on this interview as well. You talked right away. You talked about margins and profitability and everything. What makes you feel that most other brands don't understand their finances? And that's part one. And part two, like how can leaders and owners understand their finances better? Like what does it take?
I think it's just asking a lot of questions and not making assumptions. And I feel like if you're a single SKU brand, it's quite easy. It's okay. I paid $20 for this. We sell it for 100, 20%. But there's always little things. And depending on who you're working with on an accounting side, accounting is viewed and calculated much differently, depending on where you live. So and your finances can affect the way you feel. So, sometimes you can get a P&L from your accountant that says one thing, and if it says amazing things, you feel amazing and you just move on, right? But if it says terrible things, and you feel sad. And the right way to operate is to really understand your numbers, every cost, right? And there's so many times where I speak to a founder and it's like, charges us 20, 120, and then I added my shipping, and then my CPA is 40, and it's like, okay, so I'm making $30 profit, and it's like, well, you didn't add in the credit card fees, and you didn't add in the storage, and you didn't add in like your overhead, and it's like, because you're not selling enough, you're actually not making any money, and it's like, oh my god, what's my break even? So it's just really not being in it. Like, I'm no accountant. I didn't even go to school. I didn't graduate school, but it's just asking enough questions to the point and understanding what is my true cost and what is my true break even. And it also lets you know like when you can push. I remember our first ever Christmas, we had an 11 times ROAS. And I was like the cockiest guy in the world. And I went to someone who had a really, really big agency. And I was like, buddy, we got 11 ROAS. And he looked at me and he's like, you're the dumbest guy I've ever met in my entire life. He's like, why would you have 11x ROAS? You can probably like double your business out of 5x ROAS and still make like, he said, what are you doing? And I was like, oh my God, I never thought of it that way. I didn't understand that's how this works. So, it's understanding your numbers to the point where you know when to lean in and go harder and to pull back, and you'll understand your trends better. And it doesn't require for you to be a mathematician. It just requires you to be curious and to ask a lot of questions, and you'll always, always, always get the answer, and never assume. It's like the killer of every founder is they assume they know. They should always double check and know for sure.
And things change so quickly, right? 11 ROAS was possible 7 years ago, 8 years ago. Now you're lucky if you're getting 2x ROAS, 3x ROAS sometimes, right? Depending on the product. I had one of the founders that came on the podcast early on, they're selling a tongue scraper, scraping gunk off your tongue. And they were doing their CPA was like $1 CPA, and they're selling the product at 20 something dollars. So they're getting 20x on their return. So like, that's amazing. Talked again 4 months later, their CPA went up to $17. Oh, that's brutal, right? And what happened was Google changed their algorithm. Facebook as well changed their algorithm a little bit, and more people started coming into the tongue scraper space because they saw that they were doing well. And so competition increased, CPC increased, CPA increased. We're kind of in a little bit of a recession as well. So people are holding their wallets tighter. So a lot of different factors, but now their CPA doesn't make sense anymore. And so like if the founder didn't think about different channels, now they're on a separate channel that's way more profitable. If they just kept going down this rabbit hole of Google and thinking that it will turn around, or starting to hire agencies to try to figure things out without knowing their numbers properly, they would have lost money. They would have lost a lot of money. They know
their numbers dead through, the second things change, they're able to make a pivot instead of beat a dead horse. It's so true. It's an unlock to every every business in the world. It's ones who knows their numbers are able to make quality decisions.
Yeah. And I think so much of that is like, you didn't grow up in a really, wealthy family. And so you had to think about your finances very tight. So when you started your business became your baby, right?
Yep.
And so you treat your baby the way that you would have treated your own wallet, right? How much of that do you think holds true?
It's very true, man. I was always worried about my money going to lunch and shit. I didn't want a peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I wanted to buy the calf. It's $6 a day. I got to figure it out. So mow someone's lawn when I get home. I got money for the week. So that's exactly how it was.
It's amazing. I kind of want to dive into it. I had a couple other questions. Actually, no. What's the LTV of a customer? I've always wanted to know that, because blankets, you're buying maybe once every, I don't know how many years, what the cycle is. And then pillows as well. Do you know that? What is there an LTV for your customer? Do you know that number?
There is. It's usually about 2x, but we don't. The reason why I don't love LTV, our AOVs around $400 or $500. LTVs around 2x. But I don't like LTV calcs because I feel like it's dangerous for a lot of marketers who start to like market to their LTV number. It's like it doesn't make sense. So I it's good to know, but it's, if when you run on an MER model, your current net new customers and your past customers are all blended into one bucket of revenue. And if you're judging your marketing performance based on one bucket, LTV is in there already. So if you separate it, you can get into a dangerous trap because LTV is also dictated by your pipeline of products. So if I launch 3 new products this year, my LTV is going to go up because a lot of my old customers are going to buy again. If I launch no products this year, my LTV is going to go down. But if I marketed last year based on my old LTV, then last year's marketing is wrong. So I think LTV works for a brand like AG1 or like a one product brand, subscription based. Like that's where you want to go LTV. See, like those type of CPG based products. I don't think for a non-consumable multi-SKU high catalog product, it's very dangerous. Like, can you imagine if like a Walmart did an LTV calc? It's like impossible. So it's like I don't understand why.
Yeah. No, but when Sleep Country was purchasing you guys, did they look at LTV to CAC ratios? Did they look at that at all?
No. I don't think that would have been. I mean, it would have been good, but I don't think it would be a real. It wouldn't be something that we look at, so it wouldn't matter. What's your
guys's return on ad spend ROAS nowadays on different channels?
We don't look at it from a per channel basis because every channel lies. So
what's your best channel?
Our best channel is probably Facebook. Depending on the day, it's probably Facebook. I mean, email is the best channel, but in terms of net new customers, it's always.
What's the ROAS for Facebook?
I don't know. What is the ROAS for Facebook?
You do know. You just don't want to share it.
All right, we got the flashing lights. All right, here we go.
Okay, let's do it.
Oh no!
And there's a new segment that I really want to test out with you.
Okay,
we tested out with a few CMOs.
Okay,
and I just think the vibe is fun. Okay, we'll take a shot of this first. The vibe is fun. Well, before we move on, I think we're almost at the end. You got to get going in a few minutes.
Yeah.
Okay. Just want to dive into your background a little bit, and then we'll do the fun segment. So you mentioned that you grew up kind of, not in a really wealthy family. What was it like growing up? Who was part of your family? Yeah.
Family of 5 boys. My 2 parents immigrated from Israel in their late 20s with 3 kids under the age of 4. Like, didn't really speak the language. My younger brother were born here, so my parents, obviously scrappy immigrants, figured it out. 5 young boys, a lot to handle. So I got to see my parents grind and work hard for whatever they were able to build, but that immigrant mentality is, you never know, right? You can never get too comfortable when things are good, and you can never get too down on yourself when things are bad. You just got to go to work. So that's kind of how we were raised and the way we grew up. And, it's kind of been instilled in us to get to work and get after it. And, you eat what you kill kind of thing. So it's engraved in us.
Yeah. I don't know if there's like a percentage, like if there might be a percentage, a study out there somewhere on successful founders between the age of 30 to 40 or like 25 to 35. And I can't imagine the percentages are probably heavily skewed towards immigrants because they have the fighter mentality, and they think about the numbers a lot because they had to. They grew up in a household where the parents were struggling to just put food on the table like that. That was my family growing up. They were also immigrants from Vietnam and China, and so it was just like,
Wow.
yeah, like it's you get
It's
that,
true.
yeah, and there's like you can't teach that, right?
Can't teach it. It's like inherent trauma. It just comes. It's in our soul. It's in the DNA. So you take the good, bad, and the ugly. But one of those things that are good is that it's just we know how to get to work.
What about nowadays? What's life like now, like for you now? I mean, now you're doing really well. Sold the company. Has life changed for you much? Like, do you think that you've changed on your how you view money and everything, or everything's the same, just different amount of digits in your bank account?
I mean, I definitely view money differently. I don't have a scarcity mindset like I used to. I now understand how abundant the world is, and it's not player versus player. I always viewed as life as player versus player. I'm going to get the money or you are.
Yeah.
I don't view it like that. I feel like we can all get it, and there's more than enough for everybody. And I still wake up every morning and think it's all going to go to zero and it's all going to evaporate, and I still have that like feeling of nothing's really changed there. I don't spend and buy disproportionately more than I ever bought before. I'm still, pretty low key and frugal. I mean, I wear clothing that I get for free, like this Instagram shirt. Yeah, like
stand up.
Yeah, this is in the spirit of Threads launching today. I wanted to support Zuck,
There you go.
And I just don't think. I don't think that anything needed to change because I wasn't unhappy with the way I operated, the way I thought before. But I think for sure it's a nice calming feeling to know that I could take care of my parents. Who immigrants typically don't have strong retirement plans. So when that time comes, and I could be there to support friends or family if they need to, and hopefully they don't. But it's cool to know that. It's although I'm still crazy hungry and not much changes in the way I feel, in the back of your mind, it definitely is better to know that you could support yourself if you need to, or support others if you need to.
Do you have a plan after?
Honestly, I don't. I mean, I love the game. I love being in it. I love talking to people like yourself. I love building businesses. I like new shit. I like to have fun. So it's like, back to my like LinkedIn post, if I can just do things that are super challenging and tough and build them, whether it be a physical challenge, a mental, a business, with really cool people that give me energy and are just solid through and through, then I would do that every day. And for the rest of my life, that's a perfect day for me. So I'm sure there'll be more of something. I just don't know what it is.
It sounds like you're so good at storytelling, and you walk into a coffee shop and you're telling them to add avocado to their it's just like you're so much about the people. I feel like maybe there might be something there, right? Maybe
it's all about the people, man.
Okay, you got a couple of minutes for this last little bit of the show.
Let's do it.
Okay, so I'm going to tell you a few jokes.
Okay.
And if you successfully not laugh at the jokes, then I'll take a shot of hot sauce. But if you laugh at any of them, you're going to take a shot. I'm going to tell you 3 jokes. Okay.
Okay.
All right.
You gotta hold it in.
All right. I got to hold it in. All right. Tell you the first one. So the other day, my girlfriend and myself, we were watching 3 movies back to back. And I was just lucky that I was the one facing the TV. All right. Okay. Nothing there. All right. No biting. All right. Second one. Okay.
It's a good one, though. I like that one.
That was a good one.
Yeah, I had to think about it though.
Yeah.
Okay.
This next one. Okay, got the next one. I was addicted to the hokey pokey, and then I just turned myself around.
What the fuck is that? Fucking joke.
All right, if you don't laugh at this one,
Okay.
I'll still take the shot with you. It's still one last joke. All right.
All right.
How did the marketer? How did the dad know that the daughter was destined to be a marketer?
Oh.
Her first word was "data." All right. You get.
I'll hold that one in.
Okay, I'll do this one together.
All right, here we go. Oh God.
Can't believe these jokes still crack me up.
All right,
cheers.
Let's do it.
All right, so you've made it through. Oh shit, I just spat out my hot sauce. So you made it through 60 minutes of hot questions. You made it all the way through. It's been a lot of fun. You're dying over there. It's been a lot of fun. Thanks for being such a good sport. If people want to, listen into your journey, where's the best place for them to just figure out what you are going to be doing next? Because I know you have a bunch going on right now.
LinkedIn, Aaron Spivak, Instagram, Aaron.Spivak. I'm on Thread now, I guess. Hit me up there. Got a newsletter I don't really promote. So if you follow me,
newsletter?
Yeah, I just never promote it, but it's got like 6,000 readers. The only way to get it is I post it in my stories sometimes. So if you follow me on Instagram, you'll see it in the stories. That's pretty much it.
All right. And anything cool coming up in the next little bit that we should be looking out for?
We do these founders dinners. So if you hit me up on Insta or whatever, we invite you. We do 50 founders doing a minimum $5 million to $100 million in 17 cities throughout the state. So we're speaking at Grow New York. We're doing a dinner that night. So if you're in New York, well, probably won't see this by then. But if you do, we do dinners every month. If you want to hit us up, would love to have some people out, and it's all leading up. We've done 2,000 founders in the last year, and we're eventually going to move it into something called the Founders Club and actually have a really strong community of kick-ass founders. And we're doing Post Malone in Toronto for the Founders Club July 20th. So totally free. We take care of it all. We just want to bring awesome people together.
Let's talk. I'm doing a founders event in 7 days. We got about 45 founders coming out. They're all 7 to 8 figures in revenue.
Was this in Vancouver?
In Vancouver, yeah.
Are they brand or SaaS or what is it? Everything?
A lot of B2B SaaS, B2C SaaS, and a little bit of D2C.
Okay.
Yeah. But let's chat. But
hit me up.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on, and we'll
talk. Thank you.
Hey, hope you enjoyed that episode. I know I did. My mouth was burning on fire for about 30 minutes there, so I had to take a quick break before I recorded this, but I really just wanted to say thank you for tuning in. Most of us work at home nowadays, and we're all just in our pajamas, in our t-shirts, and in our hoodies. It just feels really fun and really light, and that's the kind of vibe that I'm trying to give. If there's anything that you want to add into the show, new segments or new topics to talk about, feel free to throw it into the comments below. Thank you so much again. Would not be here without your support. Until next time, peace out. Hope to see you soon.